firstly, you've got to understand what are your personal values, and then incorporating those or using those as a foundation for your business values. Because if you ever compromise your personal values to have a business, it's never really going to be a successful business. Because you never want to compromise your number one asset, which would be yourself, you Proprietary Limited. So Steve's going to do a wonderful session on that. And the reason I know it's wonderful because he's personally helped me a lot, which has been great.
You used to be fat then.
I was a fat then. And so, and Steve loves to help people. You know, he has his own way of going about it. With a sledgehammer. But, you know, at the end of the day, whatever gets the result. And if you implement what he will share with you, you too will get a magnificent result. So let's put our hands together.
Yes!
Thank you, sir. Thanks, guys. Very generous introduction, Huge. I did spend a bit of time with Huge on his values, and it was hopefully a rewarding experience for him, but it was a very rewarding experience for me. I'm looking forward to today for two reasons. One, because it's an opportunity for me to share, and I like to share, but also because I'm going to learn a lot, because there's some fantastic people who are going to be talking, and I'm sure I'm going to take home some gold nuggets myself. And secondly, because the All Blacks will win the Tri-Nations this evening at Suncorp Stadium, which is the first step towards absolutely bringing home the World Cup to New Zealand, which is obviously long overdue. But I'm a bit nervous about making predictions, because I think the last time I was here was the same weekend as the Blues playing the Reds in the final of the State of Origin. And being a New South Wales supporter along with Rory here, I was pretty confident they were going to bring home the bacon, but no. And the Crusaders were playing the Reds in the final of the Super 15, and I was obviously very, very confident that they were going to win, but they didn't, unfortunately. So hopefully this prediction works.
Freaking earthquake.
Yeah, actually, that's right. And 12 months ago, roughly to the day, I'm talking about risk management at last year's Supermax, and used the example of what would happen if there was an earthquake, you know, and what would it do to your business, and what would be the downstream consequences. And I'm sure you all know that Christchurch has been severely, my hometown has been severely rocked and severely damaged, and we've just clocked over 4,000 earthquakes since the very first one in September last year. But that's been a fantastic experience, because we really see how resilient people can be when the chips are down, and how people are prepared to help other people. And Christchurch, my hometown, will be a very different place in 10 years' time. But at the moment, it's a bit like Hiroshima. I think there's 3,000 buildings in the central business district which will ultimately be demolished. And so if you ever know Christchurch, if you go there in the next few years, you'll see a building here and then nothing for the next few hundred metres and another building there. So hopefully the predictions I make this time will come true, but for a very positive reason rather than something like that. We all chase the same thing, and Rowie sort of led into it nicely. We all want to be happy. We're all the same. We chase happiness our entire life. And sometimes when we have it, we don't know and we take it for granted. We don't really understand why we're happy. And other times when we're not happy, or we're not enjoying the happiness that we like, we certainly don't understand why. And so we share that in common, and yet the reasons for that are unique. And the reasons for that link very strongly into our personal values. Our personal values are unique to ourselves. And yet the answer to our happiness, or the answer to our lack of happiness or unhappiness, lies in our values. And lies in what our values are, and whether we're being fulfilled in them in everything that we do from one day to the next. And so today I want to talk a lot about personal values and personal values alignment, and then how that links into your business. If you think of the analogy of the dog wagging the tail, you're the dog and you want to control the tail. You don't want it to be the other way around. You don't want the tail to control you, because that would be a really, really unfortunate outcome, which is going to lead to unhappiness. So let's kick off. Oops. What are values? Values are your beliefs, the things that you place importance on. They're your driving force. The best analogy that I've ever had was that it's your intellectual and emotional DNA. And as exercise professionals will understand what DNA is, the building block of life. But our values are our intellectual and our emotional DNA. It's who we are. It's what's important to us. And if we don't understand what's important to us and what our intellectual and emotional DNA is, therein lies an immediate challenge. So I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey to see how we can help you solve that. Now, fantastic quote from a very famous man, but more for singing than he is for quotes. He said, values are like fingerprints. No one's the same, but you leave them over everything you do. And yet, while we all chase happiness, there are how many people in the room, right? Because we had a bit of a sweepstake this morning, just for a bit of banter.
More than 28.
More than 20, yeah. But every single one of you has a unique set of values. The word that you use to describe what the value is may be very similar, but the meaning that you apply to it and what it means to you is very, very different. And therein lies the challenge to understand that. A very wise man, Elvis Presley, and very, very successful entertainer. I think he's still the highest selling in history. Is that correct?
Yeah, never won a Grammy.
And never won a Grammy. Okay. So where do your values come from? They originate from your early childhood, from the nurturing that took place when you were very young, from the influence of your parents, from the influence of your grandparents, your siblings, your brothers and your sisters, your uncles and aunties, the people that were very important to you in your early stages of your life. Your life partners. For some of us that starts reasonably early, and for some of others it happens later in life, and it often changes for some as well. And that's all part of the process. From your sporting, your cultural influences, from your religious influences, some of which start very early and some of which for some people come later in life. Your schooling influences, I think when I look back, some of the teachers that made a profound effect on me, shaped who I am now and the values and the things that I apply importance to. Your life experiences, what's happened to you along the journey, the good and the bad. And unique experiences or significant events. There's no doubt, for example, I mentioned Christchurch earlier on, the Christchurch earthquake will have a significant impact on people, and already has had a significant impact on people. And it will see a lot of people change what they have done and the way they've done it in the past, because suddenly different priorities come to light. Suddenly they place different degrees of importance on one thing or another. And so significant events, both positive and negative, or good and bad, can have that profound effect. And the more in tune you are with those things, the more you're able to use the values in order to empower you towards a successful life. And that's why they're important. You know, success in life is a life lived in accordance with your values. Failure is a life lived compromising those every single day. Doing things that possibly right at this point in time you don't know that you're doing that are actually compromising who you really are. And when you've got that bit of feeling, it's just, I don't feel good about some stuff, but you can't necessarily relate to it. But deep down you've got that emotion, that feeling that things just aren't right, but you can't attach it to anything. So success is a life lived in accordance with the values that you have. And failure, for the sake of a better word, is the opposite. A life lived every day compromising what's important to you. Okay. The happy face or the smiley face? Which one would you like, Ro?
Happy one!
Yeah. Why does that not surprise me? Okay. So what are your values? Yeah, the truth is most people don't know. Who could put their hand up now and think that they've got a really, really good handle on their personal values and who they are? Let's raise your hand.
Sally?
That's fantastic if you have. Most people don't know because they've never even thought about it. They just go through life. Either they don't care or they don't know how. And life is a journey, but they go through that journey not really understanding what is important to them. And not understanding why they're not necessarily feeling fulfilled or the opposite. They're just busy being busy, just busy living their lives. And we're here for not a long time really, aren't we? We're here for a relatively short period of time, so we want that outcome to be a really positive experience. Let's see what Basil has to say. Everyone will know who Basil is, I'm sure.
You. It's a simple one, right? No, not really, because if it was, you wouldn't be here. You people are going to find out who you are. So, you are going to write a daily journal. And guess what? You will start first thing tomorrow morning. You're going to get up, sit down, and you are going to tell the journal your name, a bit about yourself, your life, and your world. Who am I shall see you all again next week. Journal entry. Day 1. My name is Jack Jamora. I live in Malibu, California, with my wife Nina. Nina is a good swimmer. She can swim. We've been married 4 years, and she's a very strong swimmer.
Interesting, when you look at that clip, Jack Jamora didn't really find it very easy to talk about who he was. The thing that he found it easiest to talk about was his wife Nina, who was a good swimmer, a strong swimmer. And here was a guy in a movie setting suddenly faced with the reality of, who am I? Who really am I? And he found it very, very difficult to articulate that. He couldn't get it started. And that's the reality is that we all face. Are we really in touch with who we are, and do you really know? From a personal experience, values have had the most significant impact on me in my personal life and my professional life. I thought I had a pretty good handle on who I was and what it made me tick. But it wasn't until I went through the process that I started to understand myself a lot better. I started to understand the things that were making me happy, and I started to understand the things that were making me unhappy. And I knew what I needed to do, because I wanted a lot more of the happiness and a lot less of the unhappiness. And that was a journey, a process of discovery. And now I try and make every decision in my life which is based on fulfillment of my personal values, and in my professional life to make sure the decisions are made to fulfill the values that the business has subscribed to. And interestingly, those values for the business are very much in alignment with, what do you think? My personal values. The dog is wagging the tail, whereas I think I spend a large part of my life being the dog, being wagged by the tail. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some speed values, because we've only got a short period of time together. I'm going to hand out a form to everyone, okay? And I think I might be a few forms short. So if we just pass those down, please, would be great. And we'll put some music on. Pass them around here. This is a really quick process. We'll just fire those around, which is aimed at identifying what your personal values are. I'll turn it on. I'll just dial it. Yeah. Okay. Once everyone's got a form, I'm just going to talk you through it. This process could normally take an hour, could take 2 hours. In fact, when it was me being pulled apart, being the sort of person I am, it was like pulling teeth out of a hen. It was quite a difficult process. It took most of the day. So you're going to do what I call speed values, but you're going to get a flavour of what I'm talking about. And for those of you who are doing the double diploma, the advanced diploma, and having the personal mentoring sessions, I've already spent a lot of time with individuals doing their values in a lot more depth, and then trying to help them relate that to their business. So has everyone got a form? Okay, got a whole lot of words down the left-hand column. And those words are representative of what personal values are, or intrinsic values. Things that make you tick. What I'd like you to do is race down that left-hand column and put a circle around any word that is important to you. Any word that jumps off the page at you and says, yeah, that word just sort of gets me a little bit emotional. I can relate to that word. That word is something that I believe in. Doesn't matter whether you circle 2, 3, 4, 5, or you circle every one of them. There is no right or wrong answer. So just whack a circle around them. Because of the speed values, we're going to move to the next step. What I'd like you to do now is rank those words from 1 to whatever number of them you have circled. 1 being the most important of the words, through to, if you say, for example, you've got 10 circles, number 10 would be the least important of the 10 that you're circling. Not saying it's not important, but it's the least important of those 10 words. Thanks, Buck. I'll grab them. I think we may have. I just didn't think we had enough, but we might have actually got them. Yep, thanks. You hit one. Yep. Okay. Has everyone managed that task?
You can't do it.
You can't do it? You can't rank them? Okay. Once you've know the tools, you can go away and spend a lot more time on this, or alternatively, spend some time with me over Skype. Unless you want to come and see me in Christchurch, that's pretty cool. I'll show you around. And I'll help you a lot more. What I'd like you to do now is put a really heavy circle, without hiding the word, around the top 5. So the top 5 of those values come into clear focus. That's not saying that that you only have 5 values. It's just 5 is a really manageable number. 5 is a good number to work with. Okay, what I'd like you to do now, and we talk about this a lot at Max, about how would you like to train it on a scale of 1 to 10. We're going to rank your fulfillment of that value on a scale of 1 to 10 at this particular point in time. And this is where you have to start to be honest with yourself in this process. If you are really, really honest with yourself around values, you will uncover some very, very powerful stuff. But if you hide from it, then you won't. So 10 out of 10 means, in terms of fulfillment of that value, you could not feel any better. All the way back to number 1, which means you could not possibly feel any worse around fulfillment of that value. Whereabouts in that spectrum are you, from 1 to 10? Throw a number beside it. Okay, speed values. So who's Who's got lots of 8s, 9s and 10s? Hands up. Congratulations. That's telling you that you're feeling very fulfilled around that value at this point in time. Who's got a few 3, 4s and 5s going on their form? Okay. That's fantastic information to have, because it's telling you that you're not feeling fulfilled around that value. So therein lies an opportunity for change. That's why Rowie asked me today what my favourite quote is, and that is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you choose to understand the values and you implement some change, you'll get some really, really powerful outcomes. And the reason that you're not feeling fulfilled, or you are feeling fulfilled around a value, lies in the definition that you have for your values. They are your definition and no one else's. You never write a definition of a value to please your partner. You certainly never write a definition of a value to please me or Kerry or Rowie. The definition of the value is what it means to you. If the word is balance, what does balance mean to you? If it's success, what does success mean to you? Capital Y, capital O, capital U. And when you look at the definition that you come up with for that value, the reason you have either rated it an 8 or a 9, or you've rated it as a 3 or 4, will become self-evident. Because when you look at the definition that you have for that value and the way in which you rate it, you'll say, this is not happening in my life, or this is happening in my life and I don't want it to be happening in my life. So therein lies the power of values, because now you have the tool to start the process of change. Okay. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to peel back the layers. You have to be a bit like an onion, because the real truth doesn't come until you get to or the real juicy parts don't come until you peel back a few layers. And that was certainly my experience. I resisted it a bit because I'm a pretty private person and I didn't want to uncover, but it wasn't until I let the barriers down that some stuff started kind of coming out and I'm going, ooh, that's tough. But hey, now I'm starting to understand me and who I really am. The definition for your values can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, it can be a series of dot points. There is no right or wrong. It can be this long, or it can be this long, because it's your value and it's the way in which you define it. And as I say, the answers to where you are in your life will lie within them. So my challenge to you is to take this away, this simple tool, relook at the rankings, relook at the selections that you've made, but then come up with the definitions. Spend some really good quality time putting some definition around those values, because then you're going to be able to develop some strategies to help you become more successful personally and then translate that into your professional life. This is a defining moment. It was certainly a defining moment for me, and I hope it's a defining moment for some of you. A simple example. How values are different. Value of honesty, which a lot of us might actually have. And here on the page we've got 6 different definitions of honesty, all of which are absolutely valid definitions of honesty from 6 different people. One is no more right than the other, and I only share those to illustrate how values are very personal to the individual and what they mean. You know, one example, people being honest with me, and yet the complete opposite, someone says me being honest with other people. The value of honesty being defined completely and totally differently by 2 people. But those 2 definitions are totally valid to them, because it's who they are and it's what's important to them. Okay. And if we think of fulfillment of personal values like a bucket of energy, every value that you fulfill, every moment of every day that you feel fulfilled around a value, you're putting energy into your energy bucket. Every time you do something that's in alignment with your values, it makes you feel happier. It uplifts you. And this process will allow you to understand why, whereas in the past you perhaps haven't. I just feel better today than I felt yesterday. But that's because something that you did today was in alignment with your values and sucked some energy into your energy bucket. But at the same time, events happen around us, to us, that compromise our values, either within our control or outside of our control. And they suck that energy out of the energy bucket. And how you're feeling at any point in time, in terms of the happiness scale. Now, if we've got to put Rowie on the happiness scale, where would Rowie be on the happiness scale? 10. How full of energy would Rowie's energy bucket be? Overflowing, absolutely. And that's what a sensational place to be. Others of us will be the tank will be a little bit empty. And that tank can go up and down depending on the situations that we find ourselves in from one day to the next on the journey throughout our life. So the key then is to develop some strategies to try and gain fulfillment. Strategies to help put energy into the energy bucket. And if we look at balance, for example, as a value, who's got the value of balance on there? Okay. So there's a live example of what we're talking about. I came up, and this is not necessarily my definition, but it was just a generic definition of balance that I came up with. It's defined as ensuring quality time is allocated to my partner and my children each week. And clearly if someone's feeling unfulfilled around that value, they're not allocating time or adequate time to their partner or their children, or one or more of those. So the strategies could be a sit-down dinner with the whole family at least 3 nights per week, which is a goal. A strategy, a goal, very much the same thing. A family activity every Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. A night out once every fortnight with my partner. Now if you set those, if balance is really important to you and as a value and you want to feel fulfillment and you set those strategies in place, you make those goals and you do it, what will be happening to the energy in your energy bucket around the value of balance? Filling up. And yet if you don't do that, or you only do one of or a couple of those scenarios, the energy bucket won't have as much energy in it. Okay. We look at achievement, defined as achieving the goals I set and holding myself accountable to them. That's what achievement means in that definition. So some strategies there could be have clearly defined and written personal and business goals. Simple measurement systems and reporting in place. And review these with your mentor every week. And set new goals at the mentor session. So if you do set the goals and you do monitor them and you do go to your mentor sessions, what's going to happen to the energy in your energy bucket? If you're achieving those goals, there'll be more energy, won't there? If you're not achieving the goals but you're still going through the process, will you still have more energy in your energy bucket? Yeah. Absolutely, because you know where you are, you know exactly where you're heading. You are controlling the ship. You're the dog wagging the tail. But if you don't do any of them, the energy bucket's going to start to drain out. So here's an example of some definitions and some simple strategies that you can put in place to help you. The rest of your life can be average or memorable. Who's up for memorable? Yeah. Outstanding. Okay. So, we need to understand the business link now. How do you translate your personal goals into your business life? For those of you going to run your own business, which will be the majority of you in the room, you are your business. The business is you. And on that basis, you should define who the business is and what it is, not the business define you. If you think of a pyramid, what should be at the bottom of the pyramid? Sorry?
Foundation.
Your foundation? Absolutely. Because if you're going to build a house, what do you want? Particularly if you're going to build it in Christchurch, what do you want? A really, really good foundation. Slight side story, there was a guy reported in the paper the other day who had a consent to build a new home, and he was putting in piles because he had to pile the house. 45 metres is how far the piles had to go before they hit hard surface. Very expensive house to build, that one. But anyway, whereas if the business defines you, what is possibly likely going to happen? Yeah. So the bottom of the pyramid has to represent what? That big foundation has to represent you. It has to represent your personal values. And your business gets built on top of that. Okay. And right at the top of the pyramid, I'm going to then work back down to the personal values, is your vision. And you have to come up with a vision for your business that will fulfill you and your values when you achieve it. The vision for your business is not about making other people happy, it's about making you happy. If you make other people happy in achieving that vision, that's fantastic. But the vision for your business should be about fulfilling you. The achievement of that end outcome, you should be able to look at yourself in the mirror and go, wow, not only do I feel great in my personal life, but professionally I couldn't feel any better. My energy bucket is so full because I'm doing exactly what I was put on this planet to do. Okay. And then you have a series of missions that drive you towards the achievement of the vision. It's like they're the goals that you set for the business. So right at the top of the pyramid's the vision. And then right beneath the mission comes the all-important values. They're the values that guide the behaviour and the decision-making of the business. What do you want those values to be? Here's an example of a business that's not anyone in particular. They have a value for their business of integrity, of wow customer service, of inspiration, imagination and creativity, trust and empowerment, courage and passion. Those values are the behaviours that drive the success of the business. If the business acts in those ways, if the business places importance on those things, if the business believes in those things, it will deliver a happy result. Does that make sense? And in a business, when we talk about delivering the happy result, what are we talking about? We're talking about delivering the mission and the vision, delivering the result. And sure, there's profit and all that sort of stuff that comes out of it, but ultimately it's about delivering what we set out to do, which is to achieve a fantastic vision. A vision that came from us, that's going to make us happy and fulfilled. So business values define the beliefs of the business. Defines what's important to the business. It's the DNA of the business. Our personal values are our emotional, intellectual DNA. The values are the DNA of the business. They are who the business is. And they really are the business's true leader. We spent a whole day yesterday as a team working on our values and reflecting on where we've been and where we're at. And tweaking the values a little bit to make them reflective of the journey that we've been on and the journey that we're going on. But one thing that I always say is if we've got to make a decision, the answer lies in our values. If we need to know whether to do A or whether to do B, the answer lies in our values. Because if we make our decisions in alignment with our values, we are confident that we'll achieve the mission that we've set out to achieve and ultimately the vision. And that's why the business values sit directly above personal values in the pyramid. The foundation of our life, our personal and professional life, is our personal values. They link into our business values, which drives the mission and drives the vision. And I personally don't want to build a house on a rocky foundation. Certainly not where I live. Okay, we're going to talk a bit about now, and specifically about personal and business and business and personal alignment. On the vertical axis, we've got our fulfillment of our personal values, or living our lives in alignment with our personal values over here. And across the bottom are our business values. For some of you, they are the same. For others of you, you might work in an organisation or become part of an organisation where the values were set for you, as distinct from the values were set by you because you own and run the business. Out here we have this box, which is where real success takes place, because we're right out here on the business axis and we're right out here on the personal values fulfillment axis. That's where everything that's happening in your personal and professional life on a day-to-day basis is fulfilling your values, is where you achieve real success. Your energy bucket personally is high and your energy bucket in your business is high, and you achieve maximal performance. That's happening when you drive to work in your car, and you know that you can park the car in the car park and take who you are into your business and be who you are and be successful and fulfilled. Unlike perhaps if you're down in this box over here, which is where you are feeling low personal fulfillment and high business fulfillment, what's happening there is you drive to the car park, you park your car, you have to leave who you are in the car park and go and work in a business that is not really fulfilling you. And sadly, sometimes that business is made by you. You've created the business that you have to park who you are in the car park and walk across the car park and into the building and do what it is that you're doing in your business. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Low personal fulfillment, but you're fulfilling the values of the business. In the top left-hand corner, means you've probably driven the car actually into the office, but that's where you're getting high personal fulfillment. You haven't even parked the car. Low business fulfillment. You may not even driven to work. You didn't even get in the car and go there in the first place. Or if you did, you'd had enough of it and you just drove it right through the front door. Okay. You're feeling high personal fulfillment, but you're not fulfilling the values of the business, which dictates that there is a need for change. Well, sadly, a lot of us have lived a low part of our life in this bottom left-hand corner where we actually have low personal fulfillment and low business fulfillment. Who can relate to that? Absolutely. I've spent time in that bottom left-hand box and it's not a fun place to be. But it was the values that gave me the tool to realise that I was there and that I needed to make some changes. And the objective is to always push up in that, towards that top left-hand box. There are times in your life where you will fulfill your personal values more than you will fulfill your business values. The power of this is knowing that that's what you're doing. You may be confronted with a choice where you have a success value, which is about, and it's very orientated around money and achieving goals around that, but you also have a balance which links into family. You can't often have 100% fulfillment in both of those. But if you're the dog in control of the tail, you can say to yourself, okay, for the next month I really have to knuckle down and work hard on my business because I've got some really key goals to achieve, particularly perhaps when you're in the startup phase. But I understand that I'm going to be compromising my balance value. But I'm in control of that. And I'm going to put some extra strategies in place just to make sure that that lack of fulfillment that's coming around my balance value and what's important to me around my family, I take a few extra steps to make sure it doesn't slip to the point where I feel really, really unhappy. But I know I'm in control of the process, and in a month's time, if I do the things that I said, it's going to come back into balance. There's equally times when the opposite will happen. Something happens in your personal life. Someone gets sick. I've got to change my priorities for a period of time. I've got to put more effort in here. I'm going to compromise my business. What strategies can I put in place for the next week, the next 2 weeks, the next month to ensure that the business continues to thrive while I'm putting my energies where they need to be? But I'm doing that because I've got my eyes completely open. I am in control of the process. I'm the puppeteer pulling the strings of the puppet. I'm not the puppet being pulled off in all the different directions. So if you understand the value and you have some strategies in place and you can understand where you're fitting in this picture, you can immediately take some steps to control that. And ultimately, if we link it into our lives and our happiness where we started off, you've got this one bucket of energy. It's your entire being. And if you've got fulfillment coming from your personal values and from your business values, then that bucket of energy can grow and grow and grow and grow. And that's when you can make a huge impact on yourself, but you can make a huge impact on other people. There will always be events that compromise that. You've just got to make sure that you're working harder to put energy in than is coming out of the bottom. And that's all through management strategies that we've talked about. Management strategies in your personal life and management strategies in your business life. There will always be things happen that you cannot control. But because you have a huge amount of awareness of who you are and what's important, you're able to adjust. The journey's changing and you can change the path that you're following and put in place new strategies. Because the strategy you had in place last month is not going to work this month. The circumstances in which you're operating, the circumstances that you are facing are different. And ultimately that's the key to real success. A life lived in alignment with your personal values and your business values. So the goal that I want to set everyone is to take that form away, to really look hard at the words that you circled. Be confident that you've identified the top 5, not because the other 5 aren't important, but to try and manage and to start working on 10 is a big job. Be sure on the ranking. Be honest in how you rate them. Take the steps to define them. And then the answers will be there for you in terms of what you need to do in order to be more fulfilled personally. And when you're fulfilled more personally, you better translate that into your business life and be sure that you are controlling the business and the business is not controlling you. Develop a set of values for your business. Develop a mission for your business. And a vision for your business is totally reflective of who you are, not what other people think you should be. And if you do that, the key to success lies therein. It's a powerful tool. What I want to do is finish with a little clip from probably one of Rowi's most favourite companies, but it talks about success, in an interesting way. Hopefully. You just click that right with the mouse. Sorry about this, guys.
So let the sun shine. Face it with a grin. Smilers never lose and frowners never win. So let the sun shine. And you can join in whenever you want.
Okay, technology's going to fail. But it was an ad for Louis Vuitton. An ad that clearly relates to values and understanding who you are, and if you know who you are, then you can have everything that you dream of. Success in life is a life fulfilled in alignment with your personal values and your business values. A life of failure is a life lived compromising those every single day, sometimes in little tiny ways that accumulate, and other times in major ways that will have a dramatic impact on your life. Embrace values. They've literally changed my life, and I've spent a lot of time trying to share it with the team, and it's been a very powerful tool and starting to become a very powerful tool for Max. But life is a journey, not a destination, and the key is to enjoy it. And that's why, I'd far rather have that lovely big gold word success and that magic key in my hand, and if I can share some of that with you, then that's outstanding. Have a great life, guys, and enjoy the rest of today.